One. Welcome, good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever might apply, to another session of Chronicles of Darkness, Vampire the Requiem, Requiem for London. Tonight, it is a Friday night. A lot of the mortals are going out, planning to have a party. Some have already started the party early. Some are already drunk, others are stumbling. Whatever the case might be, we will be shifting our focus from the busy streets of London with all their partygoers and shift to an old and venerable building. To be more precise, the British Museum. Now, normally the British Museum is closed from the later afternoon onwards. However, on a Friday, they are open a good few hours later. This, in combination with the early night that sets in Britain, especially during the winter, means a golden opportunity for any kindred who are interested about history or foreign cultures to go and have a gander into hallowed halls, which are normally oh so close to them. In front of the building, smoking a cigarette and obviously waiting for somebody, is our dear little Ventru, our Ventru fledgling, although few know that, faking it so far quite admirably, as if he were a neonate, is one Marcus Irons. He's smoking a cigarette, looking at his cell phone, checking the time, and is looking around. At which point, pardon me, there we go. At which point the scene is set to continue.
Julian will begin walking towards Marcus, inclining his head. He seems to be wearing a jacket for these colder, colder nights, so not as thick as probably a normal person would, but more or less enough to at least indicate that, hey, it's cold, I should wear a jacket. And as he gets closer to Marcus, how close is he to the entrance?
I would say Marcus is roughly 50 paces away from the actual entrance that is on the top of the stairs. He's halfway down the stairs, a little bit on the side, so that he doesn't block anyone's entry, just smoking a cigarette between the arcades.
And as he gets to Marcus, there's a small smirk on his face as he looks around, seeing the few people walk by, security guard and such, and states, like, "You're lucky it's a slow night. Somebody might complain that you're smoking too close."
They can speak up if I'm doing something wrong. He takes another drag. Anyway, I was very happy to find out that they're actually open long enough on a Friday. And the entry is free. He grins.
And I'm more surprised more people aren't here. Guess they're just too busy.
Yeah, too busy getting themselves sloshed, but what you gonna do? And he finishes his cigarette and is moving towards a ashtray. Well, one of those big rubbish bins with an ashtray on the side as he puts out the cigarette.
As they begin walking, he says, though I won't lie, this is my first time ever being here.
It's not my first time, but ooh, last time I was here, I was still a lad. Curious to see what has changed. Curious to see what has stayed the same.
Hmm. So Goodman will nod. And as they get past the threshold of the entrance, um, he will state. Also, it is a good day. This is a public day. Some other people might be upset if we're here, but I say bullshit to that. This is a public area within London. Anybody can be here.
Exactly. It's not as if we were walking into somebody's private. I mean, it is adjacent to a lot of people's backyard, if you catch my drift, but seriously, it's the British Museum.
Yeah.
It's as if you would forbid people to have a good look at Nelson's column.
He nods. I dislike the idea of owning something that's meant for everybody to use.
Exactly. But I've made doubly sure that I did my feeding before I came here. I can say with good conscience, no, I'm not poaching. I'm giving the British Museum a visit. Even planning of getting myself maybe a souvenir. Just maybe, depending on how the price is.
My nights have been good, so I've been eating relatively well.
Excellent. Yeah, I hope I'm not dragging you away from anything important. I thought it just might be a nice change of pace to do something, mildly enjoyable, not having to worry about the ooh, seriousness of it all.
Oh, uh, I was told by Natalia that I should be less worried about work all the time.
Why that?
Yeah, you know her. You heard what she called me at the bar. I am Captain Bringdown. I should live more often, as she would say.
Hmm. uh, sorry, sorry. I probably shouldn't laugh. But it feels like the only proper thing to do at this point. I mean, have you ever had the feeling that if you don't laugh now, you're just gonna cry?
No, not really.
Oh well, then count yourself lucky.
And
But
there's a
yes,
like a
um,
sad look on his face when you bring that up.
oh, let me guess. I put my foot in it again, haven't I?
No, this is more of a me thing. I, no, never really had that kind of opportunity to feel like that.
He raises an eyebrow. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Okay, I'm horrible at this, so I'll just blatantly change the subject since seems to make you feel down. Um, hmm. Yeah, this looks like the right place. Um, he grabs two maps and puts one in his hand. There you go. There are different sections that we can have a look at. Since this is your first time, I'll let you have first pick.
Well, if that's the case, I'm sure there's some animal exhibits around here that we can look at.
There most likely are. What have we here? Barbers, surgeons during the late medieval pit. Yeah, that could be it. What have we got here on the first floor? Okay. Um, Marcus then just darts off to one of the attendants, asking them where exactly, how they're going to get there. You see an older gentleman, friendly pointing out and pointing with his fingers and giving directions. And he comes back. Okay, located it. Shall we?
He nods.
The two gentlemen make their way to the exhibit. There aren't as many people around at this time than there is during the day, but the turnout is better than expected. You've got people from all walks of life, or most walks of life, pointing at exhibits. There are children. There are families, older couples. There are even the odd people around their 20s. Some of them with a redder nose than others, but pointing at things and occasionally giving off slightly louder laughs than they should be.
So we look around, take note of the people, move it a bit, and he seems to be watching the unusually closely. Hmm. And there's even a few moments where he stops and stares at a few people talking or interacting with each other with interest.
Marcus will let him do that for the most part, but put it that way, if the observing people takes longer than, let's say, a minute, he will poke him.
What he does, Goodman will kind of snap back to reality and continue walking to the exhibit that they're going to.
Yeah, it doesn't take too long, and you're in front of a big glass case with all kinds of definitely handcrafted medical tools, and also some more exotic contraptions that he might be having a harder time recognizing straight away, just because they might not be in use anymore.
It's amazing where we came from. These still saw their uses, but they're absolutely archaic if they were going to be used today.
Yeah, from the little I've read from the old magazine that I could either found in the trash or could get my hands on. Uh, what was that? Yeah, several months ago. I remember reading that instead of trying to disinfect it with alcohol, they used to use boiling oil. Ugh, that must have been horrible.
I don't know why they would think that would work.
Hmm. I don't know why. In most cases, it actually would aggravate the wound more than actually help it heal. Then again, oil burns. You know. Ah, he just shakes his head.
I always assumed that Oh, excuse me. I always assumed it was more or less just alcohol, maybe boiled water.
Yeah. Hmm. Funny that about the same time in the Middle East, they actually had, you know, describably the better doctors. They were, if I remember correctly, what did the article say? Something about they would have like a big cauldron going, and the cloths they would hold it over the steam to disinfect it, the cloth itself, before then using it um, for wrapping up the wounds and so on, and also basically steaming the tools over very hot steam to disinfect them. Fascinating.
So, well, we all had to start somewhere. I'm glad that we got somewhere, though.
Oh, absolutely. Hmm.
Do you practice much medicine? Being in the group that we're in.
Ah, I have a first aid kit and I know how to use it, but that's about it. Don't know that much more about the human body than your average Joe.
Goodman nods. I was told when I was joining that particular organization it is wise to know about the body. But I also heard that there's some people that just take the benefits of what we learn. They don't actually know the source of it all, though.
It definitely helps to know where you come from because it gives you a better idea of where you stand currently, and in any planning for future endeavors, you've got a better idea where you might be headed.
Indeed, but mm,
You'd probably be better able to stitch somebody together than I.
uh, I know a bit, but that's not my focus in the study. So I'm a pharmacist.
Hmm. Oh, that's interesting. And he has a look on the map. Not too far away from here, they have got, and he squints his eyes a little bit at the map. Assyrian lion hunt relief. Huh. Oh yeah, I remember it. Hmm. Wonder if it's still as impressive as it was last time.
Well, you can find out.
Uh, he'll wander off into a different corridor.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
As we're walking through the corridor, Julian again, eyes kind of searching people around. Um, look on his face, inquisitive. And but there's a moment where he does stop himself as he realizes that he's watching people more intently. And you see him also stop a few times and take notice of just the architecture and the aesthetics of the place as he seems to kind of really let it all kind of soak in where he's at. And he'll state after that, after they get closer to the exhibit, um, he'll say, "This place has been up here for centuries, right?"
Oh, the British Museum. Yeah, it's one of the oldest ones in London. Has been around at least since the mid 1800s. I would have to check on Wikipedia if I wanted the exact date. But yes, it's basically been around since the British Empire took its full form. Yeah,
He nods, and he continues. And a lot of people don't go here because it's not a priority.
yeah. And this is the sight that greets them as they get to um, the side echelon. For whatever reason, although it is reasonably lit and the quality of the reliefs is surprisingly good for them being from the ancient Assyrians and back in a time we call the Bronze Age, but nobody's there. And Marcus very slowly wanders down, really taking in the feel he's getting. He seems very intent, almost as if he's trying to soak up every little detail that he can. On the walls themselves, there is a procession of mostly men and attendants, with bows, the odd spear, daggers, on chariots. And as Marcus walks down, the scenes depict the natural world, trees, prey, and of course, majestic lions. As he goes down further, the scenes show men shooting arrows from their chariots, attendants spearing lions, and also what is very interesting is on the side of the chariots there are also pack of dogs, short-haired, muscular. They don't, the way they have been presented, they seem to have no uh, long hair or any fat on them. Strong heads, as you see them biting into the shoulders of the lion, and a man with a three-horned crown stabbing the lion in the heart. It is exactly at this scene that Marcus stops and just lets it sink in. It's almost as if he isn't quite there, just very focused on the subject at hand.
So, Julian will just kind of. Also, excuse me. I would also take in what he's seeing from the hunt, and you see him for a moment, or you may notice for a moment his focus on that, and the color of his, or the more the intensity of his skin seem, or the what's the word for tone of his skin changes as it looks more alive, more said more vibrant, and you see Julian, despite this place being encapsulated in glass, take a deep whiff of the air with his nose, and he shakes his head a little bit in a bit of a, not say confusion, more disappointment, even mild frustration.
Yeah. Marcus is almost in a trance and is just slowly moving from the left side to the cul-de-sac and then to the right side. There, there is an expression in his face. I guess the closest noun describing the expression on his face is nostalgia, mixed in with enrapturement. There is the odd moment where it looks as if Marcus would want to touch the reliefs, but he stops himself. It's almost as if his subconscious wants to. Yeah. There is just obviously a desire. He would probably love nothing else than to take his both hands and just go over it, get the feel, get the texture. But he stops himself. After all, he doesn't want that the alarms go off and them to get into trouble.
Good of him to look over the placards and see what they say, and take notice of if any of them say like where these things
Yeah.
came from, where they were obtained from, to they kind of get a better understanding of how relevant or even really how difficult it was to obtain something like this.
Okay. This is me paraphrasing, but the placards say that these reliefs were from a city in modern Iraq. Back in the day, it was called Uruk, a relatively important city. It also gives that it is these are. It describes that this is from the newer Assyrian Empire, so roughly 2,500 to 2,700 years old. They were acquired back in the 1800s. There is a bigger placard that gives you actually information on how they were transported, how many British pounds back in the day the museum had paid to basically get it off the local lord. And there is even in basically some of the last texts a mention that during the 90s there was a dispute, but that the British Museum was able to get permission to permanently exhibit them, although technically they belong to the state of Iraq. So your guess would be, if you wanted to acquire something like that, it would be a big hassle. It'd probably be easier to get somebody to mimic the style and then just carve it for you yourself.
William kind of nod his head.
Sorry.
In what he read.
Yeah. One thing more. You will have seen on one of the placards that the lion hunt was very important, especially for the king being depicted to do that, because symbolically it was him, the king, the bringer of civilization and order, going out in the wild and making it more safe for the everyday citizen, especially that in Asia Minor back in the day, lions still roamed the area freely. So a whole man bringing order over nature kind of theme.
Julian will begin saying, Sid, you know, do you know what Uruk is?
Uruk is a city in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq. It is, according to some text, either the second or third oldest city in Eurasia. Just a sec, let me think. And he scratches his head. Marcus obviously is trying to remember something. What was it again? Darn, I used to be really good at this. Things. Yeah, of course. Not to get it. Okay. Uruk is also a ruin these days. It's one of those city-states that didn't manage to survive into the modern day. Not like Ur, that later became Babylon, that then became Baghdad, which is still a city where people live in.
It was also a place of a great tale, if you remember.
Ah, yes. The tale of King Gilgamesh and his loyal friend Enkidu, wild man of the woods.
I remember reading that story a lot when my father showed it to me. It was interesting seeing the odd inverse between the two. Despite Enkidu being the wild man, Gilgamesh proved to be more of a beast than Enkidu ever was.
True. Gilgamesh, 2/3 god, 1/3 man, and yet he behaved like an absolute brat. Until Enkidu came down and confronted him, and he was strong enough that the two wrestled for a long time. And yet in the end they became the bestest of friends.
But don't forget, Enkidu had to become a man before he could meet Gilgamesh.
Yeah, I remember, what was that again? Yes, either a very high priestess or some sort of ritual prostitute went out and quote unquote tamed him.
And with that, one can say his fate was forever sealed. He could not be with the animals and the antelope anymore once that happened. Once he became aware of wine, of city, of language.
And of woman.
He nods. And when he did become aware of that, the wild, the things before man was even there, abandoned him. So, never was a story that the wild came back to aid him or even tolerate him. They simply treated him like any other man. And then miracle after miracle, King Gilgamesh and Enkidu brought upon Uruk with their many deeds. He was consigned to an ugly death. Some say it would have been better if he stayed the wild man that he was, and never become the man that he did.
Yeah, let me play devil's advocate here. If he wouldn't have become man and did what he did, we might never have heard of him. A wild man of great feats, but what story? Would he even have entered into the stories if that wouldn't have happened? Lost to us, forgotten to history and myth.
Not everybody always wants to be remembered. And he was content with his life before she came. He was a sacrifice to bring Gilgamesh into the right of mind, but without ever knowing it.
Yeah. There is normally always one or more morals in stories like these, especially the old ones.
I always
Yeah.
questioned that, feeling that in some cases I was like Enkidu, stuck on the streets. I wasn't happy, but I lived day to day, night to night. But when he found me, he allowed me to see there was more to living, or more to being alive than just living. But in doing so, he made me aware of a lot of things in this world that I regret knowing sometimes.
Yeah. I already had my suspicions that not everything was. And he looks around, and to his pleasure, nobody is really stopping. Very seldomly is somebody passing through. They seem to be alone enough. But yes. Back when I was in active service in the graveyard of armies, there were incidents that happened that led me to suspect that there was more between heaven and earth than is known to common man. Some things that shook me, seriously frightened me. And even back then, I wasn't an easy man to scare. I don't even know if you want to hear that story, but before I ended up on the street already, let's just say I just had a bit of a taste of what was truly behind the veil. Not that anyone believed me, mind you. Thought I just completely lost my mind. And who knows, maybe I left a little bit of it back on those ancient battlefields. Marcus seems a bit uncomfortable. Obviously not quite knowing if he should continue, if he should stop, or how he should proceed.
He will look at him and just say, so you don't have to talk about it unless you want to.
Officially, yeah, that's officially I'm not supposed to speak with any soul about it. Certain contracts, certain signatures, if you catch my drift, just was sort of part and parcel of the kind of work I used to do. For Queen and Country, of course, but yeah. Well, you see how well that paid off for me in the end. I did my duty. I'd sworn an oath. I put my name on the dotted line. I did my tour. I did the things I did, even if especially later when I found out why exactly we were there and what we were actually supposed to accomplish. It's never nice for a soldier when he realizes that he's not really fighting for the interests of his country, but fighting for the interests of the rich. I probably was a bit naive back then when I joined, but oh well. The past is in the past. Nothing I can do about it. But yes, back on the street. Not back, but on the street. Things were harsh, but things were simpler. A bit more straightforward. On the whole, you knew what to expect. That I didn't counter a monster again in the streets of my own country, places that at least feel safer. Oh boy. Oh well. No point in moaning. Won't change anything.
Ribbon will nod. The main thing we need to do is just learn from our mistakes. Without us learning, nothing will change.
Well, he who dares wins. But yeah. It's interesting. Until very recently, it was for me very simple. Get away from Messiah, get here, and see how things develop. Wouldn't have thought that of all people, the prince was the one to ask a question I should have asked myself a long time ago. Why am I here? What do I want to accomplish? At first I thought, well, basically what I was doing before, just surviving, but there is so much more. There are more opportunities at my hand. I don't... Some of them look a little bit too good to be true, and those they probably are. Others, I've been, well, cursed, yes, but I've also been blessed with abilities, and I just don't quite know how far I dare go. And then again, there is a little voice in, well, not literally, of course, but metaphorically. There is a little devil on my shoulder going, you have these abilities. Why not go and give them a spin? Test them out. Take what is owed to you. Who knows? Maybe I am a bit more resentful than I might be willing to face. I don't know. Words are failing me at the moment.
There's nothing wrong having abilities and things that you earned. You just shouldn't ever let it get to you. My father always told me the statement that power corrupts is untrue. Power, what it does, it reveals. Power allows a person to do things that they never could dream about doing before. It's no corruption, it's really just opportunity. And I would say you shouldn't feel ashamed having the opportunity to do things. You just don't let those opportunities guide everything that you do.
Yeah. That's some good advice. Thank you. Now, sorry, you first.
Just don't. And he stopped himself and goes like, we shouldn't lose ourselves in things or feelings, at least not permanently. Doesn't matter what conditions you have, everybody's susceptible to it. Said nothing is truly that dangerous until it's overly or unless it is overly used or horribly underutilized.
It seems to boil down to balance, like so many things in existence.
Balance is hard, though. It's easier to pick a side.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I decided I didn't want to get involved in the squabblings between the Carthians and the Invictus. Let them fight over their empires of dirt.
It's more than just dirt. There's substance behind it, but
Well, yeah, but they just enslave themselves in the process of trying to liberate themselves.
I don't typically try to think about it. I'm not part of those covenants, nor do I really care about ruling anything. I just want to make sure that I'm the best that I can be. So I joined the Ordo.
It seemed like the logical choice for me. Research-minded kindred. Where better to go and find out what the hell I have become and how I might deal with it. And especially, and also different than to the Lancea, I didn't feel like just laying down and letting my condition just completely rule my existence. That's not me. I don't give a damn if it's supposed to be thought as wise or not. I'm not a quitter. My mother didn't raise somebody who just lies down and moans. That's not our way. And with our way, I mean the one of my family. Not that I have much left of it, but anyway.
Well, at least you have something.
I should be really careful mentioning them ever around kindred. Probably the less the better.
Goodman will nod. So, no reason for them to know anything.
That's true. That's true. Plus, when I left them the last time, it wasn't really in the best of circumstances. But yeah, the prince asked me the question, why are you here? Now I know why. It's more than survival. Because I want to learn, understand, observe. Not necessarily in that order. And smith my own fate. For too long I let other factors constantly dictate them. No more. Almost reminds me of an old quote from one of my favorite authors. Only if you want to hear it.
So Goodman will nod.
Who knows? Maybe you've even heard of him. But, and he closes his eyes, focuses. While out of character, I just quickly opening up the page so that I can actually read the quote. So, sorry, dear viewers, sorry, players. Almost there. There we go. He opens his eyes, and in a very calm and clear voice, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly.
An interesting perspective.
Marcus Aurelius, Roman Emperor, Stoic. One of the few authors who's making sense to me these nights.
Well, I don't know if there can be more reasons to find peace of mind in these nights. Julie would go into his jacket pocket and bring out a phone and begin looking at it. He puts it back in his pocket. Well, there's something wrong going at the factory, so I need to head out.
Just one thing, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be as forthright in this as I can. obviously you'll have to deal with something, so I find that I'm missing a lot of the history of our kind. I'm missing the stories. I'm missing the clan relations. That's something I didn't get enough time to pick up before I fled. I know, my own fault, but I just couldn't be any more in the same building as the guy who killed a man I considered my brother, a man I considered family. I just couldn't. Some would still call me a fledgling because I'm not properly released, but you know what? I'm nobody's fucking property. And if I have to fake it till I make it, so be it. But if you can help me out with filling in the blanks, I'll find a way to make it worth your while. And of course, the understanding that you keep this information to yourself.
Easily done enough. But, well, if you really wish to know about the history of your family, I'm sure there's some people part of the Ordo that you can talk to. But the other things I can try to help with that.
I am risking something here by letting you know that. I'm fully aware. However, for better or worse, you have my trust, so I'm trusting you.
He nods his head. I appreciate the gesture, and I will not betray your trust.
He nods. But yes, anyway, I've kept you for too long. You've got places to be.
Yeah, he nods his head. So, have a good night.
You too. Hope whatever the problem is quickly solved. Hey,
Likewise.
was a pleasure, Julian. And he offers his hand.
He'll grab it and shake it.
There you go. Have a nice one.
And as he walks, he simply kind of waves back with his hand.
Yeah, Marcus waves back until he sees Julian move out, having moved out of sight. Marcus sits down, remaining amongst the reliefs of great deeds done long ago, and just looks at them for a little longer as the camera backs out of the British Museum into the night, overlooking the London skyline. And with that, unless there are any more declarations, I will simply say, thank you players for playing, thank you watchers for watching. This was another scene for Requiem for London. See you next time.